Hello, and welcome back to Anywhere But Here. Today we visit the Beaver State and take a look at the 10 worst cities in Oregon. We use metrics like crime, education, poverty, and overall cost of living to determine our list. Let's get started. Number 10. Grants Pass. 38,000 people live in the southwestern Oregon city of Grants Pass. The economy here used to be centered around the lumber industry, but now it relies on the service industry, and accordingly, the per capita income is low at $22,550. 18.4% of Grants Pass residents live below the poverty line. The schools here are about average, ranking 82 out of 200 cities in Oregon. The crime index here is 10, so it's in the bottom 10% of safe cities in the United States. The violent crime rate is slightly higher than the state average, as are property crimes, with 1 in 31 residents likely to be the victim of some kind of theft. One of the big complaints from residents is that the cost of living has risen sharply as more Californians have moved in. Number 9. Prineville. Located in central Oregon, Prineville has a population of just under 11,000 people. Prineville has the distinction of being the safest city on our list with a crime index of 21, meaning it's only in the bottom 21% of safe cities in the United States. Violent crimes happen at a rate slightly higher than the state average at 3.6 per 1,000 residents, and property crimes are below the state average and slightly lower than the national average, which is 21 per 1,000 residents. Prineville schools are only slightly below average, ranking 132 out of 200 cities. Per capita income is only $19,451, which is considered low income even for Oregon. Unemployment is a little high at 5.4%, and 23.4% of Prineville residents live below the poverty line. Number 8. Woodburn. Located between Portland and Salem, Woodburn is home to just over 26,000 residents. Per capita income is $18,824, and over 20% of Woodburn residents live below the poverty line. Woodburn schools are terrible. They rank 177 out of 200 cities in Oregon. The crime index in Woodburn is 8, meaning it's in the bottom 8% of safe cities in the U.S. Residents have a 1 in 28 chance of being the victim of a property crime, and the violent crime rate is about 30% higher than the Oregon average. Number 7. Springfield. The western Oregon city of Springfield has over 63,000 residents. Once reliant upon the timber industry, Springfield's economy has evolved, and its largest employer today is Peace Health, that runs a large hospital. Per capita income is $22,467, and over 20% of Springfield residents live in poverty. The schools here are below average, ranking 128 out of 200. Crime is not terrible here with a crime index of 11, meaning it is less safe than 89% of U.S. cities. Crime rates in Springfield are pretty close to the state averages, and in 2019, there was only 1 homicide in Springfield. An interesting fact about Springfield is that in May 1992, the city became the first in the United States to include anti-gay legislation in its city charter. However, shortly after that, the state legislature passed a law that prevented anti-gay ordinances from actually being enforced. Number 6. Sweet Home. 10,000 people live in Sweet Home, Oregon. Per capita income is low for Oregon at $20,187 per year, and poverty is high at 21.4%, while unemployment is particularly high at 7.8%. Schools in Sweet Home are not so sweet, ranking 144 out of 200 cities in Oregon, and the crime index in Sweet Home is 4, so it's less safe than 96% of U.S. cities. Although the violent crime rate is low, almost half of the statewide rate, the property crime rate is significantly higher and more than double the national average, with residents having a 1 in 21 chance of being the victim of some kind of property crime. Before we move on, I want to remind you to take a second to hit the subscribe button so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos, and hit the notification bell so you'll be notified as soon as new videos are released. Number 5. Madras. 7,000 people live in the central Oregon town of Madras. Crime in Madras is about average for the state of Oregon, with violent crime being below the national average and property crime only slightly above the national average. In 2019, there was 1 murder and only 2 reported rapes. Even still, Madras ranked in the bottom 10% of safe cities in the United States with a crime index of 8. Schools here are pretty bad and rank 158 out of 200 cities in Oregon. But it's the economics that make Madras such a terrible place to live. Madras has the lowest per capita income of all the cities on our list at $18,058 a year, and over 24% of its residents live in poverty. Number 4. Klamath Falls. With a population of almost 22,000 people, Klamath Falls lies in the high desert area of south central Oregon. Its name implies a natural landscape of beauty and clean, fresh air. However, topography, weather, and get this, wood stoves have led to the EPA in the early 2000s declaring that minimum air quality standards here are not being met. This led to years of wood stove regulations like limited use based on weather conditions, removal of uncertified wood stoves, and a city-funded effort to help residents replace less efficient wood stoves. Aside from their wood stove problems, schools are below average, ranked 124 out of 200. Unemployment is high at 6%, the poverty rate is high at 24.5%, and crime is higher than the Oregon averages, particularly violent crime. In 2019, there were 4 murders in Klamath Falls. Number 3. Coos Bay. A little over 16,000 people call Coos Bay home. Geographically isolated, rural, and with an aging population, almost 50% of its residents are over 45. Coos Bay may not be very appealing to most people. The schools are terrible. They rank 164 out of 200 cities in Oregon. Per capita income is $27,315, but that is deceiving because of the wealthy retirees that make up a huge part of the population. 18.6% of Coos Bay's residents live below the poverty line, and locals complain that good-paying jobs are hard to find here. The crime index is 3, so it's one of the least safe cities in Oregon, most likely due to a growing meth problem. Both the violent crime and property crime rates are nearly double the state average, with residents having a 1 in 20 chance of being the victim of some kind of theft. Hello, meth heads. On the bright side, there were no murders and only 37 cars stolen in 2019. Number 2. Lincoln City. Lincoln City lies on the Pacific Coast and is home to just over 9,000 people. Much like Coos Bay, Lincoln City is made up of older people, with 51% of its residents being over 45. If that statistic isn't clear enough, how about this? The 3 main economic resources for Lincoln City are tourism, healthcare, and retirement. There are a lot of retirees here, and accordingly, the schools are horrible. The worst out of all the cities on this list, ranking 187 out of 200 in the entire state. 21% of Lincoln City lives in poverty, and crime is high. The crime index is 3, and the violent crime rate is more than double the state average. The property crime rate is close to double the state average, with 1 in 20 residents likely to be the victim of some kind of theft. Before we get to number 1, let's take a look at our dishonorable mention. Hermiston, Albany, Roseburg, Gresham, and Portland. Congratulations. Better luck next time. And the number 1 worst city in Oregon? Ontario. Located on the Oregon-Idaho border, Ontario is home to 11,000 Oregonians. The city's slogan is, "Where Oregon begins," but Ontario is better known as the marijuana capital of Idaho. With Ontario being less than an hour from Boise, there's a steady stream of people from Idaho coming to Ontario to purchase marijuana since it's still illegal in Idaho. The influx of tax money now coming into Ontario will certainly help make things better, but as of today, Ontario is still pretty terrible. Per capita income is only $18,984, and 30.8% of Ontario residents live below the poverty line. Schools are bad, ranking 143 of 200 cities in Oregon, and the crime index is a 1, making it the least safe city on our list. The violent crime rate is 2.5 times higher than the state average, and property crimes are more than twice the state average. 1 in 16 Ontario residents will be the victim of some kind of property crime. I want to thank you for watching and ask you to take a second to subscribe to our channel and leave us a comment. Did we leave out a city you think should be on the list? Or is there a city we listed that shouldn't be here? We love hearing from you. Thanks again, and always have fun.